Hi, my name's Martin, and if you've clicked on this video, the chances are that you are thinking about becoming a trustee, which is fantastic, or you're already a trustee and you're just trying to figure out what it is that you've let yourself in for. In either case, fabulous, well done. This is designed really to give you a little bit of information about the kind of risks that you're exposing yourself to if you become a trustee. The first thing to say is if you carry out your roles and responsibilities to the best of your ability, then in fact you're not really exposing yourself to very much risk at all. If you've already done the previous module on this course, then you'll know that the Charities Commission say that there are 6 key responsibilities for a trustee. And really, if you carry each of those out, then in fact you don't expose yourself to any risk at all. Let's just kind of go over exactly what those were again. The first one was ensuring that the organisation serves the purpose for which it was set out. So as a trustee, whenever you're at meetings or whenever you're acting for the organisation, you should be asking yourself whether or not what you're involved in or what the organisation is embarking on is actually getting you further down the road of carrying out those purposes for which the organisation was set out for. If you're unsure what they are, have a look at the governing document or ask other trustees and they'll tell you, and you might be interested to know that occasionally trustees have different ideas as to exactly what it is that the organisation was set out to do in the first place. So have a clear idea of what that is and challenge the organisation if they have paid staff to explain to you how it is what they're doing is actually serving the purposes for which the organisation was established in the first place. Now, the second one was sticking to the rules of the governing document that you have. You will have a list of rules and regulations. It won't be particularly interesting to go through. You don't have to know it line by line, but there'll be some key things in that document like how long people can serve as trustees or committee members. It will have the rules by which your meetings should be run, who can vote and who can't vote, how you get rid of people, for example, and more importantly, what it is that you can do as trustees. So it's a good idea to make sure that you know what those things are in your governing document, because if you are going to get into hot water, it might be because you've carried out something which you weren't supposed to do in the first place. The third thing which we have is making sure that you carry out your role as a trustee with due care and attention. So that just means that if you are making decisions, that you should take the right advice if you're unsure, and you should attempt to really understand the issues that are put in front of you. It's not very good having a committee of people who just say yes without really understanding the issues behind them. But more importantly, if you were to do that, then in fact you would be failing in your responsibility as a trustee to act with care around the issues that you're voting on. So make sure that you understand what's going on within the organisation, or if you don't, just check and take advice. And provided you do that, that's absolutely fine. Okay, the next one is about making sure that you act in the best interests of the organisation, which you think would be straightforward because you're there as a trustee to always act in the interests of the organisation. But occasionally things crop up which might make it difficult for you to do so. So make sure you don't put yourself in a position whereby your interests in other things would prevent you from making the best decision for that particular organisation. So if, for example, there's a conflict of interest, and a conflict of interest arises when perhaps you might have other interests in a subject which is under discussion, so it might be about investments or working with another organisation for which you have a relationship, for example, through a relative of yours or a friend, that prevents you from making the best decision for that organisation because you've also got another hat on. So make sure you don't put yourself in that position. And also included in that best interests is ensuring that you don't take any benefits from being a trustee of that organisation, unless, of course, the governing document for your organisation allows you to do that. So paying yourself would be a good example of that. some legal structures that you might have chosen will allow you to actually draw some money from it, but you need to make sure that this isn't something which is going to leave you open to allegations of corruption or fraud in any kind of way. So don't be too worried about it, but make sure that you don't take any benefits from the organisation which aren't actually allowed in your constitution or the rules that govern your society. The fifth thing that you need to do is to ensure that you safeguard the assets of the organisation. Your organisation will have money. It might not have very much, but it might have quite a lot. It will have land. It might have property. It's certainly going to have a reputation. And you want to make sure that at least what happens is that what's handed over to you when you become a trustee is what you hand over to somebody else when you stop being a trustee. So that means making sure that money is spent wisely, that if you have a building, that it doesn't fall into disrepair, and if the reputation of the organisation is threatened by anything, that collectively you do something to make sure that that stops and that it's rectified. And last but not least, you have a responsibility to be accountable. So you need to hold your AGMs, you need to make sure that people who are your stakeholders get reports about what you're doing, they get the opportunity to feed into what it is that you're doing, and that you build your relationship with them. Because working in isolation is not very good at all. So in a nutshell, those are your 6 responsibilities, and I would say if you carry out each of those, then you can't really go wrong.